Woo!
This is awesome. I'm so glad we went. Didn't go to work. We'd be sitting there going, God, we should have gone fishing.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Salty Yak podcast, your most favorite saltwater kayaking fishing podcast out there. Glad y'all came in and joined us. We have got a pretty good lineup here for you tonight. I'm your host, Kerry.
And I'm your host, Ryan.
For those of y'all who hadn't listened to us before, so y'all know who we are. We're the only two tonight. We don't have anybody else, but we have a pretty good lineup for you. So let's kind of run down the lineup here for you, what we're going to talk about tonight. At home base, playing is going to be Spring Fishing Struggles. At first base, we have Stolen Kayaks and how to track them with a GPS. Playing second is tuning your baitcaster.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, we had that's actually a question out of the Yak Pack. Nice. At shortstop, we have Red Snapper season. Third base, we have the Salty Yak Kayak Red Fishing Tournament. And pitching for tonight is Matagorda Island Kayak Fishing Camping Adventure. There's the lineup for you, folks. I hope you like it.
What about the outfield?
That's all we got. So sorry, we didn't have enough. We didn't have enough topics, so we just did the infield.
That's fine.
So there we go. Just, it's springtime. So baseball's rolling and gone.
Yeah.
Actually looks like I had a buddy of mine that I taught over in Abu Dhabi with that is going to be in town in July. And he's like, hey, I'm going to get tickets. Do you want to go? So looks like me and Michelle might join him and his wife for a Astros game in July.
Sweet. So, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, so it'll be fun to reconnect with him.
Good.
You can go and do that. So let's just start off with what we let off with. Fishing the springtime and the struggles that goes along with it. So I fished on Monday, all by my lonesome. Went to check on some of my pet redfish because we have a tournament coming up. So I was just checking on them, see how they're doing. And immediately I'm coming down the IC, and there is pelicans on the windblown shoreline. There's pelicans, white egrets, and seagulls. Classic. The pelicans are just literally ducking their mouth down into the water and scooping at bait.
Wow.
I'm not seeing any fish like popping on top or anything. Cast and cast and cast, nothing. But the pelicans are literally, you'll see them, the seagulls too, they start swimming in little tight circles, like make a little whirlpool, and they stick their beak down, and they're scooping up. Well, I didn't get over there to see what they were catching, but I knew it was bait fish. So when I entered this marsh, the redfish were going nuts, absolutely nuts. But they're chasing that 1/4 inch little shad, and they're just pushing them up and busting up on them right against the grass.
Is it that same shad we've seen in the green lights before?
Dude, they were even smaller than that.
Wow.
But so it's a hatch, right?
Sure.
So that's what they were busting up on. So I'm throwing my slayer up against the grass, and dude, there was just tons of oyster. You ain't never been to this spot, so there's just tons of oyster there too. Got hung up, snapped off on the oyster, got frustrated, and because literally there'll be a video coming out. Literally, they are just blowing up around me, right up against the grass, and the lines got twisted around my rod, and I'm just getting frustrated with. I had the anticipation that, man, I was just going to start hammering redfish, and then it didn't happen. And then I got a little frustrated, and it wasn't nice. But
the almighty redfish king himself
got my shit back together. Okay, excuse the language. I had had another rod. Why do we take more than one rod? Hey, I had another one already rigged up.
Sure.
But you know what I didn't have rigged up?
Miridine.
Yeah, but that wouldn't help me here.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I didn't have a weedless tight on. I had 16-ounce jig heads on both of them. I didn't have a weedless tight, and I knew better going in there that I should have had a weedless hook tied on. Knew better. Just sometimes I can be hard-headed. I'll be like, because right at the beginning is where all the oyster is, and as you move further back, less oyster, right? Not that big a deal. You can throw a jig head, no big deal. I finally got set up where I was right there in this entrance of this marsh where all these redfish were blowing up. And what I realized was I was like casting like off to the side, not paralleling the edge of the grass. So my bait was only in the strike zone for those redfish, just for, like I would have had to hit them on the head for them to hit it, because they're running up and down that edge of that grass. So I needed to get like parallel to one shore or the other and cast down the grass line and then bring it back, and then it would run into one of the redfish. But in that spot, I really couldn't do that. So I kind of got mad. Not really mad, but frustrated. I was frustrated. So I went back a little bit further back in the marsh, and there were still tons of activity. And but it was just that micro bait. It was just frustrating trying to catch them when they're just busting up on that little micro bait.
Yeah.
So thought about maybe what if I had brought, because I didn't bring I say little, but it's like a 1,000 series spinning reel that I throw my bugs lures on, my bugs jigs. I didn't bring it. Otherwise, I could have thrown a clickbait shrimp or a clickbait minnow and worked it along there. So I finally did catch one, but I literally got up against the grass and threw right down the grass, and he came. You'll see it. He like charges it like a bull, but he crashes it. He crashes that Slayer. Yeah. And I caught I caught several redfish after that off of that same Slayer. So the Slayer was working. I just wasn't getting it in front of them for them to hit it. So you had to parallel it, because that's all they were doing. They weren't interested in hitting out there away from the grass. They were only interested in busting that bait. And when I caught that first redfish, he threw up little bitty bait fish everywhere. They were floating on the kayak. They're floating around the kayak. So the struggle is trying to match that hatch.
Yeah.
So, and we've seen it before too, fishing at night this time of year.
Yeah, we have.
That bait is so small that you need something small.
Yep.
So one of the struggles, match the hatch. So think about that. Think about what happened last year, year before, this time of year when you go fishing. What can you do to downsize and throw something a little bit better?
That just goes into showing how important notes are. Keeping track, keeping logs, keeping fishing logs.
These videos that we've been doing. Yeah. I mean, I'm with doing the YouTube stuff. Now I have a video log of all the fishing trips. Yeah. Because I logged the date that we went and that kind of stuff. But now I have a video log to go back and look at. So that's been pretty interesting.
What was your wind like?
Wasn't bad in the morning. It probably got up to about 15 to 18 in the afternoon. But about noon, I called it, and I just rode the wind literally right back to the launch. So it wasn't too bad. I wasn't having to fight the wind.
Nice.
So
good.
The other thing, I've heard them talk about this in other podcasts, and this is kind of what I was throwing, was a clearish colored paddle tail with a bunch of sparkles in it, a bunch of flakes and stuff in it. So maybe it looks like a little group of not shrimp, but these little shad. Maybe it looks like that, but it worked, because I ended up catching, I think, 5 more redfish off of it, and a flounder.
Nice.
Ended up with a little flounder, but everything went back. But just something to think about. So you just mentioned it. So other than the matching the bait size in the spring being a struggle, what's the other struggle?
God, I think them winds are starting blowing.
Yeah, and I guess if you're flying a kite, it's good. But if you're a kayak fisherman, we've talked about it before, wind is your number one enemy. Because whether you're paddling or you're pedaling, or even if you're a guy that's got a trolling motor on your kayak, you have to turn it up higher, and you burn more battery doing it. So what do you do to combat it?
Try to find protected water.
Yeah. So I've seen this question too. So how much wind is too much wind?
I've always gone by the golden rule of 15 and on.
Yeah.
That's but I've always, that's what I've always heard. And so I've just always gone off with that as well. I like the 15, but here's the way I kind of look at that too. I don't want to be on open water, or I don't want to have to cross open water, especially going into it, even sideways, at 15 or greater, if I can help it. Yeah, I agree with that.
But you're totally right. I mean, looking for protective water, and then look at the apps look at the apps. You know, if you look at the app 7 days away from when you're going fishing and you never look at it again before you go fishing, it's going to totally change. It'll change 3 times in 7 days what the weather and the wind's going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a tournament Saturday, and we've been looking at the wind. You know, 7 days ago, it didn't look too bad. Didn't look too bad at all. Now they're forecasting over 20 mile per hour winds on Saturday out of the north.
Don't tell me that.
That's If you hadn't been looking.
Well, I looked at it Saturday. I think it was Friday or Saturday. I looked at it. I just haven't had a chance to look at it. But I was going to look at it in the next couple of days.
So so now in our strategy to go fishing, what are we going to look for? When you say protected water, what does that mean to you?
Anything out of the wind or
duh, Captain Obvious. Anything out of the wind?
Just say it.
No, I mean, but think about where we go. What is that?
You know, and I'm gonna try to get in the marsh and
there you go.
You know,
the marsh,
yeah.
Right there you go. The marsh is a perfect place to go, and especially the taller the grass you can get, the more out of the wind you can get. Now you get back in some of those marshes, like in the back lakes and stuff, where there's like the ground cover is like pretty short, and it's not going to give you a whole lot of protection. But you can get in some of those marshes and some pretty good little bayous and stuff, and the grass is 3 foot, 4 foot tall. Gives you a pretty good little place to get out of the wind.
Yeah.
So marshes is a good place. You know, the leeward side of an island or, something else, some kind of windbreak that's going to break it. Could be the intercoastal. Think about some spots along the intercoastal, that north bank is almost like a hill or cliffs in places.
Yeah.
And you can move up and down the intercoastal that way as long as you're moving along that protected side. So you've got to look at this stuff and you got to think about it and you got to plan it. Can you go fishing on windy days?
Sure.
Certainly. But can you get from where you're launching to where you want to fish without crossing a bunch of open water, being really exposed to the wind? There's certainly places you can go fishing. I know of some bayous and stuff up around Houston that you never get around open water. You can launch right into this bayou, fish the bayou, and you won't have any problem with the wind.
Yeah.
And it could be 20 miles out of the north or 25 out of the south. It doesn't matter. So you can look and find those places to get away from the wind. But this is something I just ordered, and Amazon says it'll be here tomorrow. And I just want to see the look on your face here when I tell you this. Lord. A drift sock.
Yeah, I've got one actually.
You got one for your kayak?
I actually have one.
I thought I was going to hit something new.
No, I actually have one. I've never used it, but I actually have one.
So Kevin gave me the idea, and he used it the other day in a place that we fished, and he was like, the wind was up a little bit, but not too bad. I could still fish the wind-blown shorelines. Mm-hmm. So it was probably 12, 13-ish, right around there. But he was using it to drift across this little lake. He made like 3 or 4 drifts across it. And he's like, man, it's
nice.
Especially like if you're looking for trout and you're looking to drift across those bays and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got one to be here tomorrow. Nice. Yes. You heard me say trout. You heard me talk about drifting. We have a trout tournament coming up, and I want to do good, so I'm going to try. So,
what'd you call them? Slimy boogers?
They're little slimy things. Yeah, they're stupid little slimy things. Mm-hmm. So what else in the springtime? So we've talked about, we got to match the bait because the bait's small. It's just hatched. We talked about the wind. What else happens in the springtime that we get a lot of?
Storms.
Rain. Yeah. So what happens to our salt water when that happens?
Salinity goes down.
Oh, yeah.
Freshens up.
Yeah. Now, really probably doesn't bother the redfish too much.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't bother the flounder a whole lot, but the trout don't like it. If you're fishing a system where you get a lot of influx from a river, Sabine, Trinity, Colorado River, if you're fishing over in Louisiana in one of those bayous there that gets a lot of fresh water coming down into it, it's going to push those trout out. Mm-hmm. And if it's flood stage, you're going to have a hard time finding fish because there's just going to be water everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you get some rain in the area and the lake or bayou that you're fishing comes up and gets a lot of fresh water, look around, because you can look around and you can find other little areas, marshes, bay systems that don't have a direct freshwater input into them. So those are places to go look for, look for some of these fish again. Mm-hmm. What else we got here? Oh, here's the other one. What I already mentioned what happened Saturday.
What happens?
Yeah, what did I tell you was coming in on Saturday?
The storm?
Cold front.
Cold front, yeah.
Springtime. Yeah. We've had nice spring temperatures. Now, it's not going to drop the temperature a whole lot, but it's going to change it's going to change the wind direction, could change the wind speed, and it's going to raise the barometric pressure. So, and we're fishing the day. I mean, literally the cold front, the wind turns out of the north at 6 a.m., lines in the water on Saturday. So it turns out of the north. So my thought is catch them early and catch them quick.
Yeah, no kidding.
But so what do you do if you're fishing the same day that a cold front comes in?
Stay in bed with mama.
Whatever. So if you paid money to do the tournament and you're going to, because if I have a choice to pick a day that I'm going to fish, I'm not going to fish the day the front hits, mm-hmm. and I'm not going to fish the next day after the front. Now, after that second day, I'm all in.
Sure.
But usually the day the front hits and the day that the day after the front, I'm stay home with mama, mow grass. It's going to be a beautiful bluebirdy, sunshiny day, maybe some wind, but the pressure's high, and that generally locks the fish down, and they don't want to bite. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to fish a tournament, if you got to go fishing that day, and I don't know any other reason that you would, you got to go fishing that day. Got any ideas how to catch them?
Man, first thing I'm going to do is try to find, like we talked about, look for that protected water. Mm-hmm. And then I'm, try to stay out of the wind as much as I can and just be prepared to throw a lot of things.
I'm going to look for maybe a little bit of a depth change. Yeah. Because maybe they might slide off into just a little deeper water. Nothing drastic. Now, this time of year, nothing drastic. Because it's not changing the temperature a whole lot. And the wind's probably coming from the wrong direction to drive water out of the marsh for us. But I'm probably going to look for a little deeper water, and I'm going to fish a little deeper. I'm going to fish a lot slower than I normally fish, and I'm probably going to reduce the size of my bait. Okay, we talked about it's springtime hatch thing, so I'm probably going to fish a smaller bait, slower, maybe a little deeper than I normally would. Yeah. And try to make every bite count.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
So good thing that the tournament we're fishing Saturday is the one fish wonder. So everybody just needs one redfish. So hopefully they'll cooperate. But we've been looking, and we found some protected marsh I think we can get to. And we're going to go look at it Friday. So if I think the fish are there Friday, winds are out of the south, everything's kind of, air quotes, your normal, right? Pre-frontal. If the fish are there on Friday, I think they'll be there Saturday. It's just that the conditions are going to be different, so they're just going to be a little harder to catch, I think. That's my thought on that. Yeah. So, spring struggles. You got anything else on that one?
No, just grin and bear it sometimes.
Yeah, it don't take us very long, especially here in Texas. The spring stuff's over, and the weather pattern will stabilize. And we'll be. The other day I looked at the truck temperature. It was 94 degrees. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, wasn't it like 90 days ago that we were like, under 10 degrees or 12 degrees or something crazy?
Caught for the rolling blackouts.
Yeah, so it's springtime is here. Of course, as with your allergies, as I see.
Yeah.
And the green pollen all over your trucks.
Oh, yeah. It's killing me right now.
So, kind of shift gears here. Let's talk about stolen kayaks. Yeah. So, most of you know what we do. If you're a new listener here, we don't keep this hidden. We are law enforcement officers, the most of us that you hear on this podcast. They're either law enforcement or retired law enforcement, or at least, friends of law enforcement. So our buddy Austin the other day, he's got a buddy in San Antonio who posted a picture up. He literally just bought this kayak that week. He didn't buy it new. And I think it was do you remember what it was? Was it a Jackson?
No, actually,
I don't remember what it was.
No, I don't remember.
So he gave $1,600 for this used pedal kayak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So puts it in the back of his truck and takes it home. A few days later, he decides he's going to go kayak fishing the next morning. So he puts it in the back of his truck, puts the straps on it, and lo and behold, what happens when he comes out?
It's gone.
There's nothing but cut straps laying there. And that was with the picture, the empty bed of his truck and some cut straps. I don't know if I can imagine a sicker feeling than coming out and my kayaks being gone there in the front. I mean, just taken right out of the back of your truck.
Yeah. Knowing how much you just spent on it. Yeah, I don't even want to think about that.
So with us being in law enforcement, so what's the first thing, if you're going to give advice to somebody who's got a kayak, what would be your advice to them far as this? What would they need to do pre getting it stolen?
First thing I'm going to recommend, two things. One, take good photos of it.
Exactly.
And make sure you have the serial number.
Exactly. Know where the serial number is.
Yep.
Take pictures of the kayak, and especially any kind of modifications you may have done that are special.
Yes.
Take a picture of that serial number, because that serial number literally is just like etched, like digitally etched into the plastic, right? So it can be ground off pretty easy.
Or if you add a number,
yeah,
like you add say you put your driver's license in a special location,
exactly.
Notate that as well.
Exactly. You inside the hull somewhere, you write your name, DL number, excuse me, whatever, right? Yeah. Where only you know where it's at. Mm-hmm. So when the officer, if Lord forbid that it gets stolen and it is found, when they say, hey, well, how do you know that is yours? Well, if you look underneath there, right here, you'll see my name, driver's license number, and that kind of stuff. Yep. And good photographs, because you go to, Lord forbid that it happens. You're going to want to post pictures of that all over social media, and your friends can send it out too. Get that, out there. What's the chance of recovering these? Yeah, I really don't know.
I don't know either.
Because, one, you'd have to be looking for it. And, but yeah, so I don't know. One thing that I would do if my kayak got stolen, I certainly would be watching all the for sale forums around.
Yeah.
Craigslist, whatever. I'd be looking at it, because you figure they either stole it to sell it, or they stole it to use it, and maybe you might run across them again. Who knows?
Yeah.
So here's an interesting thought I had when I saw that picture. So when I used to do those long bicycle races, the multi-day races, we used a GPS tracker.
I remember you telling me about this.
So it's made by Spot, S-P-O-T, Spot GPS trackers. And we had them, and we attached them to us. And the tournament director, the director of the bike ride could literally, there was a web page where everybody, if you had the link to the web page, when it was public, you could go in there and you could track all the riders. And you could see how fast they were moving, when they stopped, how long they had stopped, and all of this. You just live track them on a website, just because you had this little GPS tracker attached to you. So I was remembering that, and I remembered 2 years ago when we were at the fishing show, Spot GPS trackers was there, and at that point, you could, if you bought, so there's the hardware. You got to buy you had to buy the hardware. Let's say right now, if you went right now online, you would have to buy the hardware, which is the tracker. And then you'd have to buy a subscription, which is the tracking, right? The GPS tracking. So 2 years ago, when we were at the fishing show, they were giving you the tracker, and all you had to do was pay for 1 year subscription up front. $100 insurance that if your kayak gets stolen, you might get it back. Yeah, pretty good chance to get it back. And let me explain how this works. So they make these GPS trackers, and this is like their smallest one. It's the most inexpensive one. If you have to buy it, it's $99. So you buy that along with the subscription. And say it's the night before you're going kayak fishing and you want to preload your kayak. So they make a little mount for it. You put it on that little mount, and you have that little mount somewhere inside the hull of your kayak. Snap it on there. You go online, you set your GPS up so that it is motion activated. So if it moves during the night, you get an email and you get a text. And it starts, so at that point, the GPS has been dormant. It's not using any energy, really, not a whole lot. And it's not pinging. It's just dormant. And when it starts to move, then it fires up. Starts sending out GPS signals, sends out the warning or the notice, and it starts tracking. And then you can live track your kayak. Go get it back, right?
Yeah.
So now let's say you wake up in the morning and it's kayak still in the back of your truck. We're going BTB today. Okay. So we drive down there and get ready to put the kayak in the water. You take that GPS tracker and now you put it in your life jacket and now it's tracking you. So if something happens, you don't come home, your wife or girlfriend or significant other can go to the GPS thing and actually look and see exactly where you are. And, Lord forbid that anything bad happen.
Hopefully that doesn't bite you in the rear.
Yes. Remember you're being tracked.
Remember you're being tracked, boys.
Remember you're being tracked. So, yeah. I'm just saying, hey, be honest.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, I think that's more accurate than a phone.
Way more accurate than a phone. Yeah. Well, the big thing I like about it is it serves two functions here, okay? And so you could put it in your kayak and say, like we're going to Matagorda Island. It will run depending on the ping rate that you set up. So it'll ping, I don't know, like once every 2.5 seconds or something, right? That's like the fastest ping rate. So at that rate, it lasts like 8 days. Mm-hmm. If you set it up for a slower ping rate, and depending on how much you're moving, it could last the battery could last as much as 30 days. Yeah. And I think it takes like AAA batteries. So, and it's fairly small. I was hoping that we were going to get to go to the fishing show, and I was going to go see if these guys were there. Yeah. But I'm going to reach out to them and see if I want to buy one and test it out because I think it would be fun to do a little test where, like, you steal my kayak, and then I track you down and find you.
I need writing. I need a handwritten letter. I need plausible deniability on that.
Or I could stick it in your kayak, and then I think it would just be funny. It'd be fun to do like a little tracking exercise.
Yeah, no,
like
I agree.
We'll film it for YouTube or something like that.
I agree.
Now the clandestine part of this is you could stick it in your buddy's kayak. And you could figure out where he's fishing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's illegal
Gary's
or not.
Gonna have like 6 or 7 different GPS trackers in his kayak.
Well, one thing about mine, I would just like stick them in everybody else's kayak.
Ain't nobody got to worry about me. I can't catch fish, so I'm golden.
But seriously, one, because hey, I mean, if you buy a new PA, a new Outback, you're looking at thousands of dollars there, and if we can get them to give us one. Or get a promo where we can get the tracker for free and we just pay up front for the service. Yeah. $100 a year for insurance.
I bet several Yak members.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Because, I like to, and I've said it before, I like to pack my stuff the night before. Yeah. Now, I usually back the truck up like to the garage door. So does that mean they couldn't steal it? No. It means it makes it a little bit harder for them.
See, I won't. I may pack stuff in my truck, like seat, crate. Yeah. But like my rods, I won't put my rods in the truck. The kayak, I won't load in the truck. I do that all that morning. Just, on that, on the off chance that some knucklehead wants to take one of my kayaks, and have good insurance. Because my insurance agent told me if they steal out of the bed of your truck, you claim it on your auto insurance.
Okay, if they steal it out of your garage, I guess you claim it on your homeowner's insurance. Yeah. Okay. So that's the thought with stolen kayaks. I mean, Lord forbid that would happen. But
and some kayaks have accessible places to lock. let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Right. So the Outback, right? You've got the H rails. You know, you can use some guys. I've heard them. They use those they use cable bike lock.
Yes.
You know
Kevin does that. He even when he's like just going down the road, he's got that cable bike lock that goes through like one of those rings on the bed. Your bed tied down.
Yeah.
And goes through the middle of the up through the where the drive goes.
Yes.
And one is to keep an honest man honest.
Sure.
Two, it's last resort if the cable if your ratchet straps fail and it keeps it from falling out of the truck.
Some kayaks are, you know, like whether it's a, you know, if it's a PA or a Hobie and they've got the H rails, you can wrap those bike cables around those H rails, you know, and like you said, lock them on the hooks inside the cab. Some kayaks, it's kind of hard to, like my Jackson, I don't know where I would be able to wrap a bike cable around my Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know where
I don't know if there is one.
No.
So that may depend on your kayak too. You know,
obviously a pedal drive kayak, you have a hole in the middle of your kayak.
Yes.
That you can come up through.
Yeah.
A paddle one, not so much.
Yeah.
So have to have a workaround on that or something.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here's something. Here's a topic you're a pro on. Tuning your baitcaster.
Yes. Yep.
So give us a quick little rundown on how to set up your baitcaster the night before you go fishing so that you're not throwing backlashes. Or it reduces the number. Let's just go that way. Reduces the number.
I feel like there's a story here that I'm
No.
I guess I fiddle.
How do you do it?
So I fiddle with it. Excuse me. When I tie on the bait, I fiddle with. I usually leave. You know, I've got the old green Corrados, and so I usually would leave either 2 of the brakes activated, maybe 3, and then I would just
explain the brakes.
So on the side of the kayak, it's got that centrifugal.
Not the side of the kayak.
I'm sorry. I'm all amped up about kayaks now. On the side of the baitcaster, on those green Corrados, you pop that side cap off, and you've got those 6 centrifugal brakes in there, right, that control the speed of the spool.
Yes.
So I typically will leave 2 activated, right, where I pull them out, and the other ones I have them disengaged,
pushed in, yes,
so to speak.
So the further they're out, the more
they're engaged.
Yeah, the more engaged. Okay.
And then I will just kind of set it to the bait that I'm fishing, whether it's an 1/8 ounce jig head, it's a top water, and I will just kind of fiddle with it back and forth. I usually set the 2 brakes, and then I go back to that.
You got to keep your mouth where the mic is.
Sorry,
it makes a big difference.
I'm trying to look at you and talking the mic.
Well, you don't have to look at me.
So on the opposite side of that cap, there's that little, I guess, the fine tune knob that you can turn on the spool speed, right? And so I will set it so my bait is just a constant drop, not where it's just raging fast, but it's just when I hold the rod tip up, it is a solid drop down where it's not really slow, but it's not raging fast, kind of right in the middle, so to speak.
So when
I push the thumb spool button in and I engage the spool and I just loosen it, it's a steady drop to the.
That's exactly how my daddy taught me how to do it.
Yeah. So
let me kind of walk back up here a little bit. So when you're looking at your spool, if you got a brand new baitcaster, there's a little knob on the right side if you're holding it out in front of you, and like it's sitting on the rod. There's a little knob right behind the star drag. Yeah, yes. And so that's kind of like I wouldn't call it a fine adjustment. Now you can turn it just a little bit, and you can get some pretty good reaction out of your spool by just moving it just a little bit. Now what you're talking about is on the left side of the spool.
That's the main brakes that I use. Yeah. Yes, I will set the main brakes on the left side under that cap. Mm-hmm. I usually engage 2 brakes.
Yeah.
Then I will go back in that small knob on the right side below the star spool or the star drag. Mm-hmm. I will just kind of fine tune that just a little bit, like you said, not a lot, but a little bit if I need to. Now,
if you look, depending on what make and model or reel you're using, sometimes there's a knob on the outside of the reel casing that literally says 0 to 10, and it gives you just a little. If you're throwing into the wind, you're getting a little backlash. You can just literally turn that just a little bit, and it does it. So each reel is a little different, but the way Ryan described it, where, you want to set your drag, or not the drag, the reel tension, the spool tension, you want to set it so when you push the little button, whatever lure you're using, that it just is a steady, slow kind of fall. And that gives you, that's really close in the ballpark. And that way, when you show up and go fishing the next day with that lure, and every lure, every weight is going to be different. So you're going to have to adjust it. I mean, if you're throwing 16th ounce and then you turn around and you tie on a 1/4 ounce, it's going to make a difference. You're going to have to do a quick little readjustment on that.
Absolutely.
So I know there was somebody talking about how to get rid of or have less backlashes. And that's how you have to do it. You have to tune that little reel, tune your reel so that the tension is set properly for whatever weight lure you're throwing.
Absolutely.
So, now there's a little money here, a little bit more investment makes this a little bit easier, because I have bought 2 of the digitally controlled reels now.
Oh, you have 2?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I just have 1. Somebody's branching out.
Oh, I don't know. I've had these same too. So the Shimano.
Is it the SLX?
I have the SLX DC.
Okay.
And I have the Shimano Corrado DC.
Okay.
So I have both of them. And love both of them. So the digitally controlled, it's monitoring the speed spool, and it knows when it's going too fast and you're going to have a backlash, and it's able to literally slow it down. I forget how many thousands of times a second that it monitors the speed spool or the speed of the spool. So the backlash, can you throw backlash in it? Yes. You can. No, there's no question about it. You can. But what I have noticed is the backlashes in it are way easier to get out.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, usually like 1 or 2 little pulls and it's done.
Yeah, you're not having to dig and cut stuff out.
Not at all. And I'm throwing, probably 20-pound Power Pro braid on it. No problem whatsoever.
I agree.
Now, there's a little bit of a price difference between the SLX and the Corrado.
Yes.
I was buy another one right now. I'd probably go back with the SLX. I like it just as much as I like the other one.
Can you tell a difference?
Maybe not. No.
Interesting.
I mean, of course, I'm kind of OCD.
Sure.
So I've got that that blue inshore TFO, and I've got that Shimano SLX. It's got the blue accents on it, so that matches perfectly.
Sure.
So then I have the FTU, and I've got to get my acronyms right here, because TFO, FTU, it's really close together. But the FTU rod, that green rod, that Corrado has got a little kind of greenish tint.
Way to it.
Yeah. So those are they look really good together.
I'm all about your matching. I am. I'm not gonna lie. I'm all about it.
I like stuff to match and look good together. Hey, I like that.
If you were blindfolded and you were handed, could you tell a difference casting? If you didn't know, we mixed them up on you, and we just handed you 2.
We ought to try it.
I kind of want to.
I think maybe I could, but I think if we did that, we have to try that.
Because I agree, there's a significant price difference, and if I can get the same quality with the SLX as I can with the Corrado and save that money, I'd be willing to make that.
We need to.
I think we should.
All right. We have to write that down. We got to. That's something we need to do too.
Yeah.
And we'll give you a report back on that one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. So let's jump out of inshore and talk a little bit of offshore here.
Yeah, buddy.
Red snapper season. Now this is be a quick one, because what I want to say, we don't know yet. So we are still waiting on the federal regulation dates for the, more than 9 miles out. We're still waiting on those dates. They have already set the for-hire dates. So for if you were going to hire a charter and go out red snapper fishing, those dates are June 1st through August 3rd.
Huh.
So if those dates are already set, and we're waiting on them to set the other dates, I bet they're going to be really close. Because traditionally, red snapper season in Texas starts June 1st and runs till about August. So I'm thinking that's what's going to happen. So
is the state season is open?
State season is open.
Or it's been set?
No, okay, well, it comes back. So I think state waters out 9 miles, 365 days a year, you can catch red snapper. Okay. During the winter months we've talked about, water's cold, they're there. Water's starting to warm up, they're moving a little bit further out. Time June shows up, can you catch state legal 15-inch red snapper in June, 9 miles in the end? Yeah, but you got to know a spot.
So you really have to hunt them.
Yeah, now you get out past 9 miles, they're not that hard to find.
Sure. And
you can find, big ones, which we're going to talk about too.
I remember that.
So, Snapper Rock, right? Yeah. So you know exactly what we're talking about. But I'm going to guess that the recreational angler dates are going to be pretty dang close. June 1st to August 3rd. Just waiting for them to say it. Just put it out there and say it. But the CCA did something. Did you see this? Mm-mm. So, they changed a lot of the formats for the inshore stuff, right?
I knew they did that.
So, you talked about,
I know you told me there was a bonus.
So, in the offshore division, I thought it was maybe a new division.
Yeah.
No, they brought one back that they used to have years ago. Red snapper.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So we were talking about this on a podcast, and Nicholas actually guessed it. I thought maybe it was going to be amberjack or wahoo or something like that.
Amberjack have a season though.
Yes, they do. But so does red snapper. So you won't be able to catch red snapper the whole CCA Star Tournament, probably. Okay, you'll just have a 90-day window there to catch them. But so if you're going to if you're doing the CCA stuff, and for the red snapper, the new red snapper, or the division that they have brought back, has to be 20 pounds or bigger, and you can bring it back and enter it in the CCA. And you won't win a boat, but you'll win a Polaris Ranger for it.
Sure, I'll take a Ranger.
And I think we know a spot where there are some pretty big old snappers.
That's what I was going to ask you. The ones we caught, how much do you think those weighed?
Yeah, they were close.
You think they were over 20 though?
We've caught some in that spot that were over 20.
Okay.
And released them.
So nice.
We'll have to visit that again.
Heck yeah.
But moving on and talking about tournaments. The Salty Yak Kayak Redfish Tournament registration is open on Tourney X. So if you're new to this and you didn't listen, so if you need to go back and you need to listen to episode 64 where we talked to Rick McGee, because we covered everything about fishing online tournaments and fishing our tournament. So this is an online tournament. It's 30 days long. So registration's open right now. The tournament starts May 1st. When the tournament starts, registration ends. So only the people that are registered will be able to participate in the tournament, because after May 1st, registration ends and we start fishing. Mm-hmm. And May 1st to May 31st. So we have 31 days to go out and catch 5 redfish. And out of those 5 redfish, 3 of them have to be Texas slots. Okay. 28 inches or 20 to 28 inches. 2 of them can be overslot. But let's say I don't catch 2 that are overslot. Say I catch 2 more that are 28 inches. So you can have 5 that are Texas slot. But we're allowing you the freedom to have 2 that are overslot. So to go for some really big fish. Mm-hmm. Or, if you catch that one that's 29 inches.
Or that 36 inch.
Well, if you're in Louisiana, catch a 36. But, somebody had brought up the topic of maybe the freshwater anglers in San Antonio fishing Brawning and Calaveras had a better chance at catching overslot fish. But, they're fishing 2 spots. This is an all-water open tournament. So you can fish jetties out of your kayak with lures, because there's no live bait or no dead bait. Or you can fish beachfront, and you can catch bull reds out there. So you just got to go do it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. It's going to be, I mean, this is the first one we've done. I've done one kind of like this, and I really liked it. So we're going to try this format and see what happens.
You know what I wonder, and maybe we talked about this, but if not, we need to ask Robert down in San Antonio. The redfish and Browning, do they taste any different?
No. I tell you, the ones that we ate that we caught out of a trading house, they taste just like our saltwater redfish.
Okay.
They might actually pull a little harder than a freshwater redfish. They make some pretty good runs. Pretty good.
The freshwater pull harder than saltwater?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I would have to. It's been a long time since I caught a fresh one, but I've never had a saltwater red bend my hooks, and I've had. I remember
that you showed me some photos.
I've had that happen in freshwater, and I've heard stories of freshwater redfish completely spooling somebody.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but you don't hear about that a whole lot in inshore red fishing. Of course, most of the time we're fishing less than 28.
Yeah.
So I guess if you hooked onto a big one, I know that Robert's goal is to catch one over 40. And I'm like, last year, BTB, I caught one that was I caught a 36 and a 38 BTB. So
yeah,
I'm gonna be looking for that window to go.
I don't know if I'm gonna go how far out I'd go, but I'd fish a couple guts.
Oh no, that's what I'm talking. Just that's all you need. Just go past that third gut.
Yeah.
And if there's a water clarity change, how sometimes in the summer you can look out there and like, oh, that green water's just right there. That's where you go.
Okay,
that's where you go.
I do that.
Or you go to the jetties, and because usually, even if it's windy, right? You look how the jetties lay, and usually there is a protected side of the jetty.
Yeah.
And usually you can launch somewhere to get to that protected side. So, casting some big old jigs, trolling some big old rattle traps, you can catch some redfish at the jetties off lures. So, there goes your big slot fish. What else we got here? Nope. So we mentioned this last time. So the tournament's going to run 4 weeks, right? So each week there's going to be a raffle package prize given away by random drawing to one of the anglers that is entered in the tournament. Now, the way I'm kind of setting this up is every week the prize package gets better.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
If you win the first week,
you're out for the rest of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. One-time winner. Okay. One-time winner.
Fair.
But
fair.
So first week you get, you'll get enough. It will be something that covers your entry fee.
Sure. Absolutely.
More than your entry fee, which is $50 if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Then the second week, it's a little bit more. Third week, and then fourth week, we'll have a pretty good little prize. It's going to include a rod. I haven't decided if I'm going to include a reel with it yet or not.
Wow.
But it's certainly going to include a TFO rod. I've already got the rod, brand new rod, never even been out of the plastic. So that'll be in the week number 4.
Interesting.
Have you paid your entry fee yet? No, you haven't, because I get an email notice every time somebody gets it.
I have it.
I know exactly how many people
but
are
I will,
entered.
I promise.
So, yeah, whatever.
I'm chasing. There's some guys I'm chasing.
It's going to be fun, you know. Yeah. And that's the thing I like about the Tourney X, because you got to go on to Tourney X. It's free to go on. You make your profile, and then you go and you find, the Salty Yak Kayak Redfish Tournament, and you enter it. You pay them through PayPal, and then they send the money eventually to me. There's a bunch that goes behind this, but just know that the money's being held by them right now. So, and then we go from there. Top 5 places will be paid out. Okay, but here's for transparency's sake. So it's $50 entry fee. Okay, $5 goes to Tourney X because that's of each entry fee, because that's what they charge to run the tournament on theirs for each entry. Okay. $10 goes to our charity, which is a Heroes Legacy Outdoors, where we take the kids of fallen first responders and fallen military heroes. We take their kids hunting and fishing. So $10 of every entry is going to go to that charity. The rest of it is going to go to the pot. It is going to be divided out between the top 5 anglers come, June 1st after the tournament's over. and I will PayPal that money just back to the winners. And then we'll, I'll be figuring out how to mail all this stuff to everybody too that wins on the other stuff. Hey, but that's on me, and that's just part of me wanting to do this and have fun with everybody. So I had a couple questions that some of them were funny. They literally meant them as funny. Okay, but then I kind of looked at it and I go, "There's somebody out there that's thinking about this, right?" Because when we talked about in episode 64, some of the stuff that has to be turned on your phone. To upload your pictures. So start off with GPS locator. So you know that when you take a picture, if you have that original picture, you can look at the metadata and it will show the GPS location, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't have your GPS locator turned on, then when you load it up to Turny X, it won't take it. And Rick explained this on episode 64, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody's like, so what are you doing? Is everybody going to know my secret spot? You're going to have my GPS location? So here's the deal, and Rick talked about it. So if we were doing a bass tournament, it would be a deal because you got to be fishing public water, right? Mm-hmm. As the tournament director, I'm the only one that can look at it, and I don't care. Okay, I am not. You have to take me on my word here, but I'm a man of my word. I'm not going to look at the GPS data. I don't care. I'm not going to collect it. No big deal. This is a redfish tournament. Redfish, they're in public lakes, public marshes, and, on the beachfront. And everywhere there's a redfish, I don't know of anybody that's got a private redfish lake. They have these big, huge redfish. They have access to go fish them. So I'm not going to be looking at GPS data. So it's a non-issue. Yeah. But you can see where somebody be like, "Oh, I don't want to enter this tournament because you could get my pictures and you could get my GPS data off of it." Yeah, it's not a thing, and it's open to everybody. I mentioned this: saltwater and freshwater, and it's open to everybody, not just Salty Yak Pack. It's open to any kayak angler out there that wants to go catch redfish.
Yeah.
So there you go. Don't wait till the end to upload your pictures. Because we want to do this. That's the whole point of doing this on Turny Live or Turny X is we have a live scoreboard that gets updated every time somebody posts fish, right? Also, if you end up holding a fish and it's like you get into a tie, so the person who gets the tiebreaker in there is not when you caught it, when you uploaded it. So the first one to upload it wins.
Yeah.
If the fish is the same size and everything else. So don't know if that'll happen, but we don't want anybody sandbagging and just hanging on to them and loading them on the last hour. That's not no fun. That's not the point of this.
Plus you run the risk of it not uploading, running into a problem.
Yeah. So I like the idea of taking the pictures and then uploading them when you get home.
Yeah. Like
the same day, next couple days.
I agree with that.
And doing that. That's what I like. Practice taking your practice pics. If you go and check out the Salty Yak Kayak Tournament page, Facebook page, I've already I took some practice pictures of the fish I caught the other day. Most of them were pretty good. There's one I cut his nose off. I didn't intentionally do that, but when I saw the picture, I'm like, I'm going to post this anyway. Just to show the people that, hey, you got to look at your pictures.
Yeah.
And make sure that everything is met that we talked about to do that. If you got any questions, that Facebook tournament page is a great place to put them out there. One, we can answer them there. Two, anybody else who has that same question will see the answer. So great place, that the Salty Yak Kayak Redfish Tournament Facebook page. So, good place to check that out. You got any other thoughts about the tournament?
No, I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we still got a couple more weeks, but I think we got 15 or so right now. And share this with your buddies, your kayak fishing buddies, because the more people we get in, the bigger the pot.
Sure.
Right. So, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play along, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to recuse myself. So if I end up being like number 3, so just take mine out, just assume mine's out, and we'll bump everybody up.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll be in the top 5, but I'm just going to, as being the tournament director, and my goal is I just want more people to come and have fun with the Salty Yak community like we've been doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to recuse myself. You don't have to recuse yourself, but I'm going to recuse myself for that. So I'm not going to be in the hunt for as far as the money and stuff goes. I'm just in it for the, hey, I got 12th place out of 11 people. Well, the last thing I got for y'all guys and gals tonight, it is 18 days.
Yeah.
I would say until Christmas, but it's not Christmas. 18 days until the Matagorda Island kayak fishing camping adventure. So I started texting people and messaging people last night to start getting head counts and doing all this thing, looking at that. You got any ideas? Did you look at my notes?
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, man. I'm going to guess.
So we're talking people that gave me the thumbs up last night. They're coming.
25.
Excuse me. Just a little high.
20.
Yeah, 21.
Nice.
When you talk this much, you have to take a drink of water every now and then. So, 21 are down to, or committed right now. There's a couple of them like I'm 90% in, but if my kids their kids' baseball team makes the playoffs, they're going to be out, which is, that's kind of that life stuff that we talked about.
Absolutely.
It's going to happen. Out of those 21 that are going, how many of them are sleeping in hammocks?
10.
Yep.
Really?
You got to go buy a lottery ticket tonight. Can you pick some numbers for me? So how many are sleeping in tents?
I mean, I know there's 11 left, but I feel like not everybody's going to sleep in a tent.
Dang, your Aggie math has worked out pretty well for you, hadn't it?
My parents would be proud.
Well, here's the deal. 9 of them are committed to sleeping in a tent. 2 of them are undecided. They don't know what they're going to do yet. They're coming. They just don't know what they're going to do. Yeah. So actually, the tent hammock thing kind of works out really well. It's about half and half. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I'll get some. If you're listening to the podcast and you got a message from me asking if you're going to the Matagorda Island trip, this includes you, Ryan Hodson, then you need to reply to that so I can get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So I think the plan, we're going to put up some more information to the people that are going for sure. I think for like the groups that are coming out of Houston, we're just going to meet up somewhere on 59 in like caravan from 59.
Yeah.
Of course, Curtis and his boy are coming. For those of y'all coming to the Bride-College Station area, y'all might do the same thing. I know there's a group coming out of Corpus Christi, like 3 guys coming out of Corpus Christi.
Well, that's cool.
So they'll probably go travel as a group. So we'll kind of all travel and and meet up there and at the fishing center and have a huge adventure in about 18 days.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I got on here for that. Oh, one more thing. If you're coming on the Matagorda Island trip, you have to have a limited land use permit. Go online and buy that sucker. It's like $12 or $15. You can buy it online, and you can even, if you download the Texas Outdoor little app from Texas Parks and Wildlife, it'll be on your phone, and you don't actually have to have the paper copy with you. Mm-hmm. So you either need to have the limited land use permit, or you have to have a annual hunting permit. So if you hunt a bunch of public land, you might already have that, but one or the other. So make sure if you're going on the trip that you go ahead and get that purchased, and don't wait till the last minute. So, you got anything else?
No, not really.
Finding it hard to talk here. Got like a frog in my throat. All right, we'll close this out there, buddy.
All right, guys, like we always say, always wear your life jackets.
Somebody at home loves you and wants you to come home. We'll be talking to y'all guys and girls later.
See y'all, guys.